Today, we're going to dive into that powerful and honestly often misunderstood feeling of being an outsider. We'll look at the science that explains why it probably has less to do with who you are and way more to do with how your brain is wired.
Most people think loneliness is just about not having company. But the most profound, deep-down isolation, it doesn't happen when you're alone. It happens right in the middle of a party or a meeting or some big family get-together. You're there, you look around, and you realize that even though everyone is sharing the same moment, your mind is off somewhere else, processing a completely different reality.
You see the laughter, you hear the chatter, but you feel like a ghost in the machine. It's a strange feeling, right? For some people, the more folks that are around, the more that feeling of being completely and utterly alone just gets more and more intense.
Now, if this feeling sounds familiar, you've probably spent years, maybe your whole life, trying to figure out what's wrong with you. But what if the answer isn't that you're a social failure? What if it's actually a known psychological phenomenon?
Yeah? Do any of these labels hit a little too close to home? Maybe you've called it social anxiety, or you've just decided there's some fundamental flaw in your personality that makes you too much, or just unlikable. You've probably tried to force it, right? To fit in. You engage in all that small talk that just feels mentally painful. But the feeling, it never really goes away. And that's because the problem was never correctly identified in the first place.
So let's get this straight. You aren't broken and you're not wrong. That feeling doesn't come from some defect in your character. It comes from something called a cognitive mismatch, a fundamental difference in how your brain processes the world compared to a lot of the people around you.
So, what's the science behind this? Well, it really comes down to the very wiring of your brain.
Psychology actually suggests that high intelligence doesn't just make you better at solving problems, it fundamentally changes the shape of your struggles. A cognitive mismatch means your brain is just operating at a different pace and at a different depth. Your mind is built for this constant, layered processing, and that right there creates a gap between you and the world.
And this is the core of the conflict. For a mind like this, the brain is always on. You know what I'm talking about. It's replaying conversations, analyzing variables, questioning every little outcome. Meanwhile, a lot of other people get energized by the exact kind of surface-level social stuff that your mind finds totally and completely draining.
And this is why the loneliness you feel is cognitive, not social. It's not that you dislike people. Not at all. It's that you're starved for what you could call mental resonance. You're just looking for conversations that actually stimulate your mind instead of just passing the time.
Okay, here's an analogy. Imagine a conversation is like a walk in the park. For most people, it's just a steady stroll. They notice the weather, look at the trees, but your mind? Your mind is already running way ahead. It's analyzing the patterns in the tree bark, questioning why the path was built this way in the first place, and trying to predict where it all ends. You're experiencing the exact same park, but on a completely different level.
So, how does all this deep analytical processing actually show up in real life? Well, this difference pretty much shapes your entire inner world and everything that you value.
Think about it. That feeling of being restless or bored all the time, it's really just a deep-seated need for complexity. Your resistance to trends isn't you being stubborn. It's you relying on your own internal validation. And that voice in your head that's super self-critical, it often comes from comparing yourself to a very, very high internal standard of what's possible, not to other people.
This also explains why things like sports fandom or viral trends might feel, well, completely hollow to you. While many people use something like a team jersey to build a social identity, your brain is busy prioritizing internal reasoning. You're looking for systems and meaning, while the world around you is often perfectly content with spectacle and short-term emotional highs.
So, what do you do with all this? Where do you go from here? Well, the path forward isn't about finally learning to fit in. It's more like an invitation to stop fighting your own nature.
Your struggles, all the overthinking, that constant feeling of being out of sync, the intensity of it all, they are not flaws. Psychology actually tells us they are the cost of depth. They are a direct result of a mind that just sees and processes more.
Moving forward really means accepting this trade-off. Your life is going to be deeper, but yeah, it's also going to be heavier. That out-of-sync feeling isn't a bug, it's a feature. It's your cue to stop trying so damn hard to conform. The real goal isn't to be liked by everyone, it's to find the few people who actually resonate on your frequency, and to learn to be okay with the quiet while you search for them.
If any of this is hitting home, please understand this. You are not lost. You're simply navigating life without that standard script that seems to work for everyone else. You're writing your own.
You know, real intelligence isn't always loud, and it's definitely not always celebrated by the crowd. Sometimes the biggest victory is just this: the quiet ability to sit in a room, feel like an outsider, and for the very first time, finally understand why.